Howdy folks, Steven here. And today I want to broach a subject that I've been seeing a lot on the internet. Seems to be a lot of people out there talking about how, oh, the problem with this country is the lack of God. Well, if you take a look at what the Muslims are doing right these days, I'd say the problem is too many gods. But seriously, I don't actually believe the problem is a lack of God. People say we need to bring God back into the country, back into the people, in order for this country to function properly and everyone to get along, which is never going to happen, but that's another video. I think what we have a lack of, actually, is personal responsibility. Let's face it, God is the greatest scapegoat that has ever been conceived of. Think about it. Someone hits the lottery, first thing they do is thank God. Someone wins a gold medal, first thing they do is, oh, thank God for giving me this opportunity. The fact that they've been training for the past, 4, 6, 8, 10 years or whatever, had nothing to do with it. It was all God's doing. It was divine intervention. Anybody that wins anything or does well at something, it seems that the first person they want to thank is, God. The fact that they put in the work to get to that point seems to be playing second fiddle. But the same goes in the other direction. A young child runs out into the street and gets hit by a car. A group of people is going to gather around. And if you stand in that group long enough, someone's going to say, oh, it must have been God's will. Or if the child dies, someone's going to say, well, God called him home. I'm not going to blame God for that. I'm going to blame the asshole that was supposed to be watching the child, his parent, his or her parent. They're the ones to blame for the kid getting hit by the car. Certainly not the driver of the car, unless, of course, he was driving on the sidewalk. What did God have to do with it? Nothing. It was the crappy parents that weren't watching the child that allowed the child to run out in front of the car and get killed. Personal responsibility, folks. That's what it's all about. Many, many years ago, I read a book. I don't remember the name of the book. I don't remember who wrote the book. If someone wants to help me out with this, they can. But it was a book on the Viking gods, actually. The gods that the Vikings worshipped. And I don't know why it stuck with me all these years. But the fact of the matter is the first line in the book has stuck with me for a very long time. And that first line is, when man has the ability to conjure enough power to take responsibility for his own actions, he will no longer need God. Do we need God? Yeah, I think we do, especially right now. God is a source of hope, is a source of joy, is a source of fellowship. Don't go sending me a bunch of letters saying, oh, you atheist, you, and all that, because it's not true. God and I got our stuff straight many years ago. But the fact of the matter is, there's just too many people out there blaming the Lord Almighty for things that he has nothing to do with. Why? Because they're not taking responsibility for their own actions. They're not taking responsibility for themselves. Everybody wants to point the fingers at everybody. No one wants to take responsibility. A black man gets shot by a white cop. It's obviously someone else's fault. It's the cop's fault, of course. The fact that the black man was waving a gun around, that didn't mean anything. It's always somebody else's fault. Why is it always someone else's fault? Anyway, please, people, if you're going to do something, man up and admit that you did it. Don't point the finger at other people. Don't say it's their fault or his fault or hers fault. It's no fault but your own. Theodore Roosevelt said once that if you could kick the person in the seat of the pants that was most responsible for your problems, you wouldn't sit for a month. That's where it's at. Well, Steven here, signing off from Steven's Chatterbox. And oh, by the way, I keep forgetting to do this on most of my videos. Subscribe, like, do something. Leave me a message, something, anything. You like the video, you hate the video, whatever. Have a good night.